made a long-awaited announcement yesterday about the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, they eliminated the Pro Bowl. Again, I think some people feel like it's already been eliminated. The Pro Bowl games, let me update. The Pro Bowl was eliminated. Now the Pro Bowl games are gone, and the NFL wants to celebrate the honor of being a Pro Bowl selection, but there will be no more games, no more flag football, the likes of which we've seen in recent years.
The NFL also announced a new suspension policy.
Listen, I think they need to see Michael Penix and what he looks like healthy next week and to see how he responds to being back in practice. He hasn't gone through a full week of 11 on 11. They want to see how he feels leading up to the regular season opener. I think that might provide the key as to what they do early in the season. Again, it was a serious knee injury that he's coming back from, and they want to be comfortable that he's comfortable before they put him back out there. And Tua's played well this summer. He's had an uneven time there. Some moments that have been good, some moments not as good. Don't think that's an issue. I think they want to see how Michael Penix feels and then make a decision once that happens next week. Essentially, these rules have been in place, but I think the NFL needed to remind teams and reinforce the idea that a player who leaves the NFL to go back to college, which we've never seen before, isn't allowed to come back to the NFL in the same season, nor is that player going to be allowed to re-enter the draft. You are eligible for one draft in your life. Dante Whitner can't go be the 8th overall pick 1 year, go back to the Ohio State and come back and be another high pick again. It doesn't work like that. And the NFL reminded its teams of that yesterday in that memo after the Saquon Wright situation. Once you're in a draft, you're not in any more drafts. Once you leave the NFL in season to go back to college to play for the LSU Tigers instead of the Cleveland Browns, you cannot come back to the NFL that season. Now, a lot of people saying, okay, well, we'll see how it impacts his stock going forward. He's planning to see how that will be determined, so we'll see how that works.
What version of Michael Penix are they actually going to see in the third day of practice in the next week or two before week one? He's coming off of a significant knee injury. He's not going to play real football, at least when it comes to him being hit, till the next time he is in a regular season game. And so quarterbacks can often lie or fool coaches or players because we know we're not live. I know you can't hit me. It's a different world when that linebacker or safety is bearing down on me and you can split my chest in half. And so how much can they actually take into account when I say they, Kevin Stefanski and the decision makers in Atlanta, how much can they sit there and say, yep, the guy that we are seeing in practice every day against our own guys, that's the type of player that we are going to get when we play 11 on 11 football real on Sunday afternoons. I think that's a really difficult thing for them to try to figure out. How much of that is actually reliable? Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart, and specifically Malik's health. I think Malik Neighbors is getting open-wise, Reggie Wayne, and acceleration-wise, Tyreek Hill. I've felt that since he was coming out. He was the guy that I said he should be the number one wide receiver. And so coming off of that injury, that's the big question mark is what version of him are they getting? How healthy is he? Because if he's the guy that showed up his rookie year and the guy that I think is that Reggie-Tyreek combination, that second year or third year jump for the quarterback, second year jump for that quarterback is going to be significant.
Cool. Anyone who was declared for the NFL draft and did not withdraw or appeared on an NFL roster or signed a contract with a pro league cannot be on a Big Ten roster. That according to Pete Thamel, who was citing sources on his Twitter literally just moments ago.
I absolutely think so. I mean, I think we have to take into account how good this defense is. And it feels like that window, we talk about windows in football, like suddenly shutting. Their window is open as it's going to get. They have a good quarterback. They had two really great receivers in, or at least we thought Higgins was heading that direction when he got hurt. And the way that they demonstrated, they went out and got booty quickly. They know that everything's on the line for their quarterback. They want to pay their quarterback. They want to have the success that we think this team deserves. And I think Booty, like in that playoff game last year, he had that incredible one-handed catch against the Texans. I'm sure that was in their mind, and they knew that he was someone who's going to be available. So this is a big acquisition.
Well, we should be thinking that the very coaches who sit around all summer at media days and say we need hard and fast eligibility rules to follow are the very ones who are then saying, oh, look at this loophole. I can use it to get a tight end who I coached before and can help my offense. So while the SEC is asking the NCAA and the United States government for help to fight this, the coaches in their conference are saying, why don't you come on over here and play with me because I can make a spot for you on my roster. Greeny, what's happening is having a trickle-down effect all the way to the high school level. And this has been Greg Sankey's point. You can't damage these other players on your roster who have invested 8 months all summer to play for you, and high school players who think they have a spot and 5 years to play for this one player who can't cut it in the pros.
Funny to hear you say that they want to get something out of this contract, which I guess makes sense. But so far, what they've gotten out of this contract is a lot of bad headlines and judgment and us and them like further cementing this like trope of them as like this silly organization, which actually they draft really well. They've built a really good roster. They made this really awful trade and decision, and that's been mired a lot of the years since. And now, like, you have an opportunity to feel like you have a fresh start. You can dump all this on that decision and move on. And rather than doing that, they remind us that, you know what? Even though we make a lot of really good choices, this is who we are, baby. This is who we are. We're going to end it by making it another, like, questionable choice.
This dude's so good. I think he is insane how talented he is. Some of the throws he makes and the way that it is effortless are absurd. If this group can stay healthy, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden had 2 or 3 plays that they need him to take that step forward. But I somehow still truly deep down believe that this dude is undervalued. I think he is so sensational.
Love you're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. He is sensational throwing the football. And if we just took guys out there and said throw, he would be in that category with Joe and Lamar and Josh and Patrick. He would be in that category, just flat out throwing the ball.
Especially in the proclamation. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are Super Bowl contenders. And it's all because of Ruben Bain. I've been trying to get you jerks to talk about Ruben Bain for 6 weeks. And he hasn't played in preseason. So what? He played in preseason. And Simmons, a great tackle, hit him with the Reggie White hump moon. Ruben Bain is going to be the Defensive Player of the Year. He'll be the 3rd blue chip player on their defense, along with Winfield and Vita Vea. I think this makes this defense really good and makes them compete.
Right. And now something that seemed theoretical appears, Paul, to be upon us. I'm curious, 2 things. Your reaction and the reaction that you're hearing from all of your callers and all of those football fans in the SEC to what feels like it's going to be the beginning of something enormous.
College football has officially plunged into the abyss, Greeny. We have never been at a place like this before. There have been scandals far more serious, but this is a new low in terms of the machinations of the legal system, the NCAA, and all these things. It's just incomprehensible to think that someone was on an NFL roster the other day and he very well could be playing for LSU a week from this Saturday. But it's the way things are right now, and the one thing that I think everybody is waiting for, callers are outraged, fans are outraged across the board. What can, if anything, the Southeastern Conference do about it? There has not been a puff of smoke from the headquarters building in downtown Birmingham. Something will be said at some point. There is a president's meeting at some point today or tomorrow, and I think that the league would like to speak as a group, with the exception of LSU, which has always been a bit of a renegade, and that will be eagerly anticipated. But until then, Greeny, it's just chaos.
So ask you this, fill in the blank. If Caleb fixes his completion percentage this season, then what?
Caleb Williams is an MVP candidate, without question. We saw the explosive plays, and Swagoo mentioned it. It's more of the down-to-down aspect of the game that has to be cleaned up. 58% is way too low. He's way too talented. If those receivers can be healthy, and that's a big if right now, Luther Burden, Roma Dunze with a foot, if those guys could stay healthy with Colston Loveland and this offense, he'll be an MVP candidate because he'll hit the singles and doubles that go with the home run.
What's he going to need to do this season to raise his game?
Just execute, man. Execute. Stay away from the terrible plays that we saw down the stretch in the playoffs. But I also don't want C.J. Stroud to come into this season thinking he's going to have to be Superman. Because sometimes that's your reaction to what we've seen you on the last time you were on the field. I was in New England. It was abysmal. He looked like he lost all of his confidence. He didn't know the picture that he was looking at, and he just was rattled and shaken. I came on at halftime during that game and said they should pull him and put Davis Mills in the game. And everybody talked about, oh my God, you can't do that. What's going to happen with CJ? Well, there's 52 other dudes on this roster trying to win the football game. And one is visibly not here right now. I think CJ going through this offseason, reevaluating, this will be the 2nd year in this offense with his coordinator. There's a lot working for him. But this type of defense, that's probably going to be historical again because you return everybody. All you got to do is really stay out of the way, right? And we know that he can play at a high level. So if you get both of those things, then you can expect Houston to be in a deep playoff run team and competing to try to win the Super Bowl. I know nobody's talking about that right now. And the only reason we're not talking about Houston being in the Super Bowl is because of CJ. Yeah. Everything else is there. They re-solidified the run game. We saw the offensive line last night, popping runs, opening holes. CJ is probably the quarterback under the most pressure in the NFL this year.
Not even close. Form this year.
I'm very confident. That's because what Graz said about his first time in new systems, being a baller and getting MVPs. That's really hard to do. but we have recency bias over what we saw last year. He was a shadow of himself. He was not healthy. His threat as a runner was greatly diminished because of the lower body injuries that he dealt with all year. He only had 2 games after he came back from injury with 30 or more rushing yards. You know how many he had in that MVP season?
How many, Jordan?
All but 2 games he had more than 30 yards. So when he's a rushing threat, this offense is nearly unstoppable. I think Declan Doyle is going to add some of those wrinkles, the play actions, the under centers, but still use him in the gun as a runner, and we're going to see this offense take